Welcome to Who's That Pokemon, the most in-depth Pokemon anime rewatch podcast on the entire internet. If you didn't know, this is a retrospective look back on the Pokemon anime series, episode by episode from the very beginning. The show's been airing for over 20 years now and has over 1,000 episodes, yet it seems to get neglected by Pokemon fans, so I thought it was about time we got a podcast entirely dedicated to it. The first episode today is the 25th episode of the Indigo League series titled Primeape Goes Bananas. Their Japanese title is Don't Get Angry Okurazaru, which I actually really like. And a fun fact for the dub title here, it's a reference to the 1980 film Herbie Goes Bananas, so a little fun fact you can spread to your friends there. This episode first aired in Japan on September 16, 1997, and in the United States on October 9, 1998. On this day in Pokemon history for the Japanese air date, we have Solana's birthday. So for those who are unaware, Solana is one of the main characters of the first Pokemon Ranger game, and has actually appeared in 5 different episodes of the anime across the Hoenn and Sinnoh regions. So at first you think it's something kind of minor, but Solana has actually been featured quite a bit for somebody who's just essentially a character in a spin-off game, which usually those don't get referenced a whole lot. In 2004, we also had Pokemon Emerald being released in Japan, which I think Pokemon Emerald, I spoke about this a little bit in my Pokemon Mania video, but I really think that Pokemon Emerald did a massive job in sort of helping, I guess, bring back some fans who sort of fell out, I guess, in the long wait between Gen 2 and Gen 3, and I guess people who were turned off by how different the Hoenn region was compared to Johto and Kanto. It wasn't as explicitly connected to those original Pokemon. I think the quality of Emerald, the battle frontier, that sort of thing, was able to sort of hook people back in. On this day in Pokemon history for the American air date, we have Maddie Blaustein's birthday, the late great Maddie Blaustein, who we know as the voice of Meowth. However, she's not the voice of Meowth just yet. It will be coming in about 10-ish episodes, but yeah, it's still Nathan Price, I believe, is the voice. So she'll get her time to shine eventually. The Imdb rating for this episode was a 7.5. The screenplay was written by Atsuhiro Tomioka, which is his 6th episode so far, tying Takeshi Shudo for most episodes written. In the director's chair, we've got Shigeru Omachi. This is his 2nd and highest rated episode directed so far. He last directed Tentacle and Tentacruel when he was making his debut, which that was also written by Tomioka. It actually seems like they sort of consistently pair up specific writers and directors, which, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. You can't kind of get them operating on the same wavelength. I think that if you're keeping them in pairs, they sort of know one another, they sort of know how to execute each other's vision, so yeah, I think it's actually pretty smart. We have no major human character debuts here, however, we do have quite a lot of Pokemon debuts. We get the debut of Charizard, Primeape, Poliwag, Poliwhirl, and Bellsprout. Unsurprisingly, the Who's That Pokemon for this episode is Primeape. However, there's a bit of a error with giving Primeape its time to shine. The Primeape that's shown during the Who's That Pokemon segment is actually missing its nostrils, funnily enough. But with all of that said, it's time to jump into the episode summary and discussion. So the episode kicks off with Ash showing off his 4 badges to Professor Oak, but Oak shoots that down pretty quickly as he mentions Gary and the other 2 trainers from Pallet Town all have 5 badges and have already passed through Celadon City. When Ash is infuriated at this, Oak advises that he should catch more Pokemon in order to become a better trainer. He ends the call, leaving Ash upset.
Professor, good morning!
Good morning, Ash. I was just wondering when you might be calling. Do you have some good news?
I sure do! Look at this! Pretty impressive, huh? I've already earned 4 badges!
Only 4 badges? Ash, are you still there? I just found out this morning that all your other rivals have earned 5 badges each, including Gary.
So we get to see a little bit of a glimpse of Oak's lab here, and I really love getting to see what life is like at Oak's lab. It's just such a cool part of the Pokemon world that you don't really get to see too often. Like seeing all of the habitats and all the Pokemon interacting, it's just really cool, and I could definitely go for like a mini-series all about that. Like if they announced a mini-series that was all focused on Oak Tracy, maybe even throw Gary in there after he's become, a Pokemon researcher. Throw them all together and just a little slice of life of what's going on at Oak's lab. I would absolutely be all over that. On a similar note, Krabby fetching an entire computer for Oak when Ash is calling is just great. Yeah, not a whole lot to say about it, but it's just a really cute moment. And yeah, at least Krabby's getting a little chance to shine. Obviously, Oak shooting down Ash's accomplishments is just incredibly brutal. Oak's really being kind of a dick here. He's being a little bit biased towards his grandson. At least offer a little bit of encouragement to Ash. Like, he's managed to get 4 badges so far, when at the start it really seemed like he was going to burn out within a day. Also, why does it matter if Ash is behind the others? I guess, like, if he was really, really taking his time, he could end up missing the Indigo League. But I'm pretty sure when he gets his 8th badge and returns to Pallet Town, they say that there's like 1 or maybe even 2 months until the league starts, so he's clearly got plenty of time. I just don't understand why it's such a big deal that he's behind everyone else. Like, I mean, he literally started his journey late. Like, he woke up late and everyone else had already started, so I think he's actually doing pretty well considering where he was at the start. And as I sort of alluded to, there's another mention of the mystery Pallet Town trainers, and I'm just going to take this time to sort of hock my video on this. I made a really in-depth video looking at who could possibly be the mystery Pallet Town trainers. I went and looked through all of the clues, all of the mentions of those Pallet Town trainers, and then I sort of pieced together everything we know and tried to sort of come up with some potential suspects for who could have been those mysterious trainers. But enough promotion, I'm going to get back to it here, and I really think Oak shouldn't be encouraging Ash to catch random Pokemon that won't get any development. Like, I mean, at least Krabby seems to be having fun with Oak, but geez, like, Oak, come on. We already have a struggle in Kanto with Ash catching Pokemon that don't have any personality. We don't need you encouraging him even more. And even then, Ash already has a full team of Pokemon. Like, why are you making him feel bad for not catching more? He literally had more than a full team, and then he got rid of one, but like, he doesn't need to catch any more, Oak. And before we move on, I know I'm talking a lot about this very, very small scene. We have an error here. In Mystery at the Lighthouse, Professor Oak tells Ash that Gary had caught 45 Pokemon. However, in this episode, Oak tells Ash that Gary has only caught 30 Pokemon. It should be noted that this is also present in the Japanese version, so it's not like a dub error. This is a legit writing error from Japan. And it's actually, I wouldn't have expected them to get something like this so wrong. And it's not something you probably will pick up while you're watching the episode. But yeah, it is a pretty big error. So Misty and Pikachu are eating rice balls as Misty notices Ash's mood. Ash mentions how far behind he is and Brock points down the path to Celadon City. Misty mentions that Ash needs to get there his own way as Brock mentions quality over quantity. At that moment, Pikachu notices a Mankey peeking from behind a rock nearby as Ash checks his Pokedex. Mankey hops over Brock, wanting the rice ball. It takes it and climbs atop a rock, eating it. Ash decides to catch it by merely throwing a Pokeball at it. Mankey throws the rice ball, which the Pokeball catches, and it then hops off, clearly angry. The Pokedex mentions that once it goes into Thrash, it is hard to stop. Mankey charges and everyone runs away. Brock tries to stop it by throwing it a rice ball, but it destroys it with its fist. Misty trips and it appears Mankey will attack her, but it jumps off her head to land on Ash's face, pounding him. Mankey leaves Ash beaten and without his hat as it climbs atop a tree and wears the hat. Nearby, Team Rocket watches, wanting to catch Pikachu and get a promotion. Meowth makes a smart remark as Jessie rolls a ball of yarn at Meowth, pacifying the Pokemon.
Hold on, you're not gonna start by throwing a Pokeball at it.
There's no way I'm gonna miss this chance. Mankey, you're mine now! Huh? It's a donut!
A donut Pokemon?
So it's actually come up once before. It came up in Here Comes the Squirtle Squad, but I feel like this is the episode that really, really stands out as the one where the calling the onigiri a jelly-filled donut gets memed hard. Like, this episode isn't the originator of that dub edit, but there are so many references to, like, onigiri is like a heavy part of this episode, and there are so many references to it here, and so many references to it being a donut, that this has just got to be the main catalyst for all of those jokes. Speaking of onigiri, Mankey throwing the onigiri and making Ash catch it. God, that was so perfect. Like, the comedic timing on that is so perfect. The slow-mo of it going into the ball, just, God, I absolutely loved that moment. It made me legit, like, laugh out loud while I was sitting alone on the couch. I'm also really surprised that Misty doesn't make light of Ash's feelings here. Like, usually you would expect her, I mean, at this stage of the anime, to kind of poke and prod and be antagonistic here. But she really isn't. She's encouraging, and it's something I'd more expect from, I guess, like the Johto Misty. Whereas here, I would be like, oh yeah, she's going to definitely make fun of him and sort of rip into his Pokemon training skills. But yeah, she doesn't. Also, Meowth being mesmerized by the ball of yarn is just, it's both funny and also completely adorable. Like, God, it's another moment that I really loved. Ash gets up and notices his hat is missing. Ash confronts Mankey as the Pokemon mocks Ash, imitating him by twisting his hat back and throwing the Pokeball. Ash climbs the tree to reclaim the hat. He mentions that the hat was one he won at the Pokemon League Expo. A commercial flashback plays out and shows how rare the hat is. Misty remembers trying to win the hat, but Ash admits that he sent in multiple postcards. Ash manages to climb high enough, though Mankey beats him and jumps off, sending Ash back down. Team Rocket steps out to confront them, but Mankey checks out Team Rocket. James kicks Mankey away, and Brock tells Team Rocket to leave before it returns. Team Rocket turns, seeing the angry Pokemon evolving into Primeape.
I guess that thing I kicked out of the way.
Huh?
It evolved!
I do love that Ash's hat, of all things, has a deep backstory here. It's very, like, Star Wars spin-off movies, like how you find out how Han Solo got his last name. Like, of all things, we find out that Ash's hat has a deep backstory that it really means a lot to him, which his hats in the future don't really have as much meaning. I mean, they're, like, made by his mother, and I guess it links back into, because they're all sort of in the same style as the Pokemon League Expo hat, and I guess being made by his mother does give them sort of a nice little touching backstory. But yeah, none of them have such an elaborate one as this. It's also a genuine shame that Mankey, or slash Primeape, is dumped almost immediately from Ash's team. It's so full of personality and character here, and like it could have made for an amazing addition to his team, both when it comes to battling and when it comes to just like creating interesting stories and moments, and I guess like stealing the show. Like it's got a bold personality, and it really could have made for. I really think it could have been like an iconic Pokemon, because we remember Charizard for being a great battler, but we also remember it from being sort of disobedient and just not wanting to pay attention to Ash. And I think Primeape's sort of crazy nature here could have also done the same sort of thing. It's also funny to note that both Mankey and James's Magikarp in Pokemon Shipwreck evolve after James kicks them, which causes them to become angry and then sort of, go through their evolution. It's random, but apparently if James got the Midas touch. Ash checks his Pokedex about Primeape as Team Rocket decides to ignore it, sending out Ekans and coughing. Primeape attacks Jessie, sending her flying face first into a rock. She gets angry and orders the Pokemon to attack Primeape instead. Meowth, James and Jessie jump into the melee as Ash's friends drag him away. Ash notices his hat and Pikachu runs for it. Primeape beats Team Rocket and gets between Pikachu and Ash's hat. Pikachu tries not to look at Primeape in the eye, but he eventually does, nervously backing away as it reclaims the hat. Pikachu attacks with Thundershock, but it only makes Primeape angrier. Brock thinks Primeape is scared of them and approaches it, but it pounds on Brock and sends him flying. Primeape continues to thrash and runs after Ash and Misty. They run away as Team Rocket pursues them as well. Ash and Misty split up, Primeape following Ash. Brock then catches up with Misty as they decide to catch up to Ash. I've really got to circle back to Dexter's description of Primeape. It says, if you make eye contact with this Pokemon, it will chase you forever. And I don't know why, but this description was just so extremely funny to me. Just like imagining every single Primeape out there chasing people down for all eternity. It's just such an amazing thought. And it's definitely a Pokedex entry you would see in the games where a lot of the time it does seem like a 10-year-old is making them up and it's just like so out of whack. And it describes it in the most sort of exaggerated ways. It's like, oh, this Pokemon is the size of 10 million elephants. It's just sort of weird things like that. And like, yeah, it made me smile. We also get a lot of Primeape crotch shots when Pikachu is trying not to look it in the eye. It's sort of just, the camera is just hovering on Primeape's crotch. And yeah, it's a little bit disturbing. So Ash keeps running as Primeape destroys boulders in its path. Meanwhile, Team Rocket sets up a pit trap in Ash's path. They see dust in the distance as Ash and Pikachu plunge in, Primeape managing to stop just in time. Coughing releases gas as Ash confronts Team Rocket. Pikachu attacks with Thundershock, hurting Team Rocket and Ash. Ash sees Primeape as it jumps in. Ash scrambles out, but Primeape jumps in front of him, staring him in the eye. Ash remembers what Oak said and decides to get serious and catch Primeape. Misty insists for Ash to forget it, but Ash wants to face it to get stronger. He sends Squirtle to fire Water Gun, but it makes Primeape angrier. Ash sends Bulbasaur to use Razor Leaf, but Primeape's punches destroy its leaves. Ash then sends out Charmander, making it use Flamethrower, but Primeape dodges before pounding Charmander with several punches. Primeape is relentless, though Charmander's flame suddenly grows. The Pokédex points out that it is the move Rage. Charmander takes more punches before biting Primeape's fist, but it's tossed aside. Charmander fires another Flamethrower and Pikachu jumps and grabs the hat, escaping before the attack roasts Primeape. Primeape slumps as Ash tosses the Pokeball. Primeape goes inside as the ball rattles. It stops, the catch an apparent success. The ball then begins to rattle again, but it stops a second time. This time as Ash claims the ball holding his Primeape.
Hey, Pikachu! Good work, Charmander. I'll take over now. Pokeball, go!
My one note about this scene here is it's focused on Bulbasaur's Razor Leaf attack, where the animation is just spectacularly lazy. It might as well have just been a still image. It's essentially like Bulbasaur, a weird background, and then a bunch of leaves just like looping around in a circle. And it was just so like, why did they do this? They gave both Squirtle and Charmander proper like animations for their attacks. But then for Bulbasaur, they just did the laziest thing possible. Yeah, I really, really disliked it. I've got a whole bunch of trivia here for this specific section though. First up, it's focused around Charmander learning Rage. Despite it learning it here, it actually never uses the move again, which is kind of mind-blowing considering it's actually a pretty important part of the episode. Like, it's actually emphasized that Charmander has learned Rage, and the writers just never use it again, which is just so weird to me. We've got an error here as well. When Ash throws his Pokeball to catch Primeape, it lands and wobbles upside down. The next shot after that, it's right side up, and Ash's Pokeball continues to wobble in this position until Primeape is caught, so somebody just wasn't paying attention to the continuity there. And with Ash capturing Primeape, we've got a lot of first-time events occurring here. It's his very first fighting-type Pokemon. It's the first Pokemon that evolved on screen prior to its capture. It's the first Pokemon caught in its fully evolved form. First Pokemon captured by being weakened in battle with a Pokemon other than Pikachu. And it's the first to be left with another person for training. It also happens to be the only Pokemon he has left with someone specifically for training to have not returned, which again, it blows my mind that they've never had Primeape come back. People, if you ever, like, go see, like, a Reddit thread on the Pokemon subreddit or something, people often, when it comes to sort of, like, Pokemon Ash should bring back, or when people are like, what's your, like, a hypothetical, if Ash could have any Pokemon he's ever had in a team, what do you think would be his strongest team? And a lot of people always bring up Primeape. Like, Primeape is definitely in people's minds still. So it's wild that they've never had him go back and get it. But as I keep saying basically every episode, with the new anime series, there is the potential for this kind of thing to happen. I'm not getting my hopes up for deep references like this and sort of returns. But, I mean, it's there. It's on the table. And one other bit of trivia, among the Pokemon Ash has owned for more than one episode, Primeape actually holds the record for fewest on-screen appearances, appearing in only 2 episodes, which is, I guess it's the least amount of episodes you could appear in, sort of with that criteria. So yeah, it's not featured a whole lot. Pikachu gives Ash his hat back as Team Rocket climbs out of the hole. They wonder where Primeape is as Ash throws the ball in. Primeape jumps out and pounds Team Rocket, sending them flying. Ash commends Primeape, but it gives Ash a black eye. Ash recalls his Charmander and Primeape, and Pikachu points over the cliff as they see Celadon City. Misty notes that Primeape's chase sped up the trip. Ash puts his hat on, and he's excited to get to his next badge. Meanwhile, Team Rocket lands in a canyon full of angry Primeape who go on to attack them.
Primeape sure gave them a thrashing.
Well, at least now Primeape's doing the thrashing on our side. Welcome to the team, Primeape. Primeape's good at thrashing, but it's got a lot to learn about team spirit.
So some final bits of trivia here. This episode is the first time in the anime where Team Rocket refers to Ash as the twerp in the English dub. We also have parts of this episode being reanimated and used for flashback material in the fires of a Red Hot reunion. And finally, I think this might be my favourite bit of trivia. According to Pokemonsters the animation, Primeape is the reason why Pokeballs were developed. So another weird little tidbit, according to that novelization, where we've seen quite a lot of weird things happening. I think the most we've gotten out of it so far is in terms of sort of Brock's family and the weirdness going on there, the way that they adapted it for Pokemonsters the animation. But yeah, it's interesting to note that they officially put it down in this as Primeape being the reason why Pokeballs were developed. But as we've come to the end of the episode, it's time for my overall thoughts. I genuinely love this episode. It's easily the funniest episode of the series so far. The jokes are literally flying at a mile a minute, and for me personally, they all land. This episode pretty much entirely takes place in the most boring setting possible. They're on a dirt road surrounded by barren plains from start to finish. They never even change it up. There's, I guess, some sort of barren canyon, but that's hardly a step up from barren plains. Yet, the comedy is able to carry this episode so easily. My biggest negative here might be that it just sucks to have such a great episode be wasted on Primeape. It gets so much time to emphasize its character here. It's probably the Pokemon with the most character outside of Pikachu here, so far. Yet, it gets pointlessly tossed aside almost immediately. I genuinely have no idea why Primeape was even caught. Why did they bother with this? Despite saying that, this episode is incredible, and it's easily my favourite Indigo League episode so far. So to recap the major events of this episode, Gary is revealed to have won 5 badges, and they've also revealed that the mystery trainers have won 5 badges as well. Ash tries and fails to catch a Mankey. The Mankey that Ash tried to catch evolves into a Primeape. Ash's Bulbasaur is revealed to know Razor Leaf. Ash's Charmander learns Rage. Ash catches the newly evolved Primeape, and Ash and his friends reach Celadon City. Ash Ketchum's win-loss record is still at 4 wins and 5 losses, which means we now move into Pokemail for this episode. Now, my question for Primeape Goes Bananas, I want to ask the listeners, what did you think was the point of Ash catching Primeape? Because I've racked my brains over the years trying to figure out why they made this decision, only to have him, discard it. I think it's 2 episodes later, maybe 3 episodes later. It just really is baffling. I don't know why would they do this? It's just so confusing, and I want to see if you guys out there have any genuine ideas. But with that question asked, it's now time to jump into our second episode of the week. Our second episode for today is the 64th episode of the Indigo League series titled Pokémon Scent-sation. In Japan, the episode was titled Erika and the Kusei Hana, which I'm assuming that is Gloom's name. I definitely butchered that pronunciation, but I'm assuming it's Erika and Gloom. This episode aired on September 23, 1997 in Japan and on October 12, 1998 in the United States. This episode was actually banned in South Korea for unknown reasons, but it's generally to do with cultural sort of things, so I would probably mark it down to that. We also have parts of this episode being remade in I Choose You. On this day in Pokemon history for the Japanese edit, we've got a few things going on here. In 2004, Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green were released in Australia, which it sort of links back to me talking about Emerald being released and being a nice way to bring sort of some disgruntled fans back into the fold. I think Fire Red and Leaf Green, they were a smart decision remaking them. Firstly, because you needed a way to get those Kanto Pokemon that you couldn't transfer over due to sort of the, I guess, the technological restrictions. But it was also a great way to bring back fans who may have lapsed in between the Gen 2 and Gen 3 sort of wait, because it was the longest wait in between generations, at least for Western audiences. We also have in 2010 Pokepark Wii Pikachu's Adventure released in Australia, which I can't say a whole lot about that. I've never played any of the Pokepark games. Finally, in 2010 also, the first 2 episodes of the Unova arc premiered in Japan. And look, a lot of people hate Unova, but I actually have a little bit of nostalgia. In 2010, I was sort of becoming, I guess, more in tune with the internet. And I guess I was trying to seem kind of cool and hipster, so I decided, you know what? The Unova arc is just launching, and I want to start watching the Pokemon anime in its original language. So I started seeking out subbed versions of Unova, and I watched probably like the first 10 episodes, and then I eventually fell off because I think I was doing it over like my like high school like summer break. So like I had so much time to just like waste. And then as soon as school started back up, it's just like completely falls to the wayside. I did watch a fair chunk of Unova. Unova is the last region that I really watched a whole lot of, and then I've just fallen out of it because of time and life and all those sort of things. I can't really dedicate to the keeping up with the Pokemon anime, which is actually part of the reason why I'm doing this podcast. I want to go and revisit the anime, and I want to like discover those episodes that I might not have discovered otherwise. So yeah. On this date in Pokemon history for the American air date, we also have quite a bit going on. In 2009, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Sky was released in the US. Now, I never really played Explorers of Sky. I played Time and Darkness quite a bit, and I'm pretty sure I beat Time and Darkness, which I didn't beat Blue Rescue Team. But yeah, I had no motivation to play Explorers of Sky. It was like them doing a third version for a spin-off, which I was like, this is a bit much for me. I can't really jump back in, and Mystery Dungeon was never one of my favourite spin-offs, so yeah, I was really hesitant to jump back in there, but I do hear good things about it from other people. In 2012, Pokemon Black 2 and White 2 and Pokemon Dream Radar were released in Europe, so Unova in full swing, sort of across this on this day in Pokemon history. Black 2 and White 2, I think, were a step down from Black and White. I feel like that's blasphemous in the Pokemon community right now, but I think Black and White had much better stories, and I was never bothered by only having to use the Unova Pokemon. That never bothered me, because every new generation, the first game, I always only use that region's Pokemon. I like to get in touch with, or get familiar with those Pokemon. And I never really understand, like, oh, it's a brand new game, all these new Pokemon, oh, I'm just going to use the old ones. Like, yeah, it's never really made much sense to me, so Black and White, yeah, it was basically the perfect games to me. And finally, in 2013, Pokemon X and Y were released worldwide. And look, I do sort of look back fondly on X and Y being the first games on the 3DS, and there was sort of a sense of joy and wonder there. But just the more you look at it, the more you think about how unfinished they were. It was sort of lacking a bit of soul, and then there were so many plot threads left dangling, which at the time I finished that game and I was like, yeah, that was a fun journey. And, you know, as it got criticized, and as even I looked at it more critically, I was like, yeah, it's very flawed, but there's all these little nuggets here that could definitely be expanded on in a hypothetical Pokemon Z version, which could potentially make this a game that I put on sort of a pedestal the way I put Black and White or even Platinum. But we never got that. We never got the Zygarde stuff. We never got the Power Plant stuff. It's just a real shame. The IMDb rating for this episode was a 7.3, and the screenplay was written by Hideki Sonoda. This was his 5th episode, and he last wrote The Tower of Terror. The director was Kiyotaka Itani. This is Itani's 4th episode. He last directed The Ghost of Maiden's Peak. We've got quite a lot of debuts here. We obviously have the debut of Erika, but as for Pokemon, we get the debut of Gloom, Vileplume, Victreebel, Grimer, Execute, and Tangela. The Who's That Pokemon for this episode is none other than Gloom. So with all of that, there's a lot going on there in the background info section. We finally come to our episode summary and discussion. As Ash and his friends arrive at Celadon City, everyone but Ash notices a wonderful smell in the air and Brock runs off. Ash finds him with his face against the store window, noticing several girls inside. Ash thinks Brock is wasting time and proceeds to leave, but Misty and Pikachu are revealed to be inside the perfume store already, admiring the variety of aromas. Misty asks about how much it will cost, but Ash steps inside and urges her not to waste her money. The female manager confronts Ash about his negative claim, but Ash pushes it further by saying all perfumes are a waste and turn guys into zombies, pointing out Brock. Everyone in the store is against Ash about his remark, even his own friends, and they kick him out. Ash storms away and heads to the Celadon gym, but when he tries to enter, none of the trainers are willing to let him in. They know about his perfume distaste since the perfume originates from the gym. The lead trainer stamps a red cross on Ash's face before kicking him out and closing the doors.
I wouldn't let you in if you were the last Pokemon trainer on Earth. This gym doesn't allow anyone inside who says the perfume is a stinky ripoff. Why not?
We manufacture that stinky perfume right here in this gym.
Uh-oh. So you see, young man, you're the stinker. Don't you understand? I gotta challenge your gym master so I can win a badge. You gotta let me in.
We've got to address that Celadon City is yet another Kanto metropolis. God, it's just so funny to see the region depicted this way when Kanto is probably the most rural of any of the regions. I guess, well, Alola is like a tropical, like island sort of region, so I guess that probably takes the cake. But yeah, like depicted in the games, the towns aren't all these like huge metropolises, and I guess you could probably claim like, well, they were limited. They couldn't really properly express, I guess, the size and scale. But something tells me that like it wasn't every single city was supposed to be a metropolis, according to Game Freak. Like Celadon, yes, I would say that this actually fits quite well. The metropolis style, like with its like huge department store and that sort of thing. But yeah, a lot of the other towns don't really need to be depicted as huge, lumbering, like towering towns. It's just, it doesn't fit. A bit of trivia about Celadon City here. This is actually the only episode explicitly based or set in Celadon City. The P1 Grand Prix actually takes place in Celadon City Hall, which, like, that was news to me when I found this out, because it's actually only revealed through art released on Game Freak's website, and it's never actually stated in the episode that they're still in Celadon City. We get a reference to Celadon City's university, which came in Chikorita's Big Upset and Fossil Fools, the latter of which actually reveals that Professor Oak used to teach there, so there's some references to Celadon, but yeah, we never come back here at all. And for some reason, they never mention that the P1 is it's based in Celadon. I think Erika flipping her shit because Ash doesn't like perfume makes her thoroughly unlikable. Like, I immediately hated her off the bat. And, I mean, I guess they needed to invent some sort of personality or character trait for her because in the game, she literally has none. So, I guess it's a step up. This is actually Erika's only appearance in the anime to date. Celadon City really just is a blip on the radar when it comes to the anime. She's been shown in flashbacks, but she's never actually shown up again. Erika is also the only Kanto gym leader to have the same Japanese and English name. We also see Erika's badge, the rainbow badge, being the only Kanto badge to have the same Japanese and English name. So I would say that's a nice little coincidence there. Finally, Erika is voiced by Leah Applebaum. She would only work for the show one other time, providing the voice of Susie. In the 20th movie, Erika is voiced by Natalie Gorham. This is basically her only voice acting credit, by the way. And in Pokemon Masters, she's voiced by Xanth Huen, who has also never done anything else for Pokemon before. So it's interesting that 3 different Pokemon voice actors here for the exact same character, and none of them really have done anything with Pokemon before or after. And in the case of Gorham, it's basically their only voice acting credit. So yeah, it's really, really strange. I think I've been quite impressed with the designs of all of the gyms so far, but this one's particularly great. The Celadon gym looks like a gigantic gloom. I think that's just really, really cool. They keep really hitting it out of the park with the actual gym designs. And before I move on here, I definitely have to mention that the trainer who doesn't allow Ash into the gym is voiced by Veronica Taylor, but the voice she does here, it's basically just Ash's voice. So the whole interaction sort of plays out like Ash is talking to himself. And I sort of looked away, I looked down at my laptop to write a note or something, and I literally thought, like, is Ash talking to himself? Like, what's going on here? And I had to literally look up to see, oh no, Veronica Taylor is just voicing that guy, but doing the exact same voice, which I think is actually a big issue with the Indigo League anime, is that, like, they basically get, like, Veronica Taylor, Eric Stewart, Rachel Lillis, like, the main crew to do so many of the voices, but I don't think they have that big of a range. Like, they're good at what they do, but, like, an Eric Stewart voice is an Eric Stewart voice, and you can pick it out pretty easily. Same with Veronica Taylor for the most part. So it really does come across a little bit, like, jarring and a little bit cheap, if you know what I mean. Meanwhile, Team Rocket sets up a ladder to sneak into the gym and steal the perfume formula. While exploring the interior forest, Jessie runs into a Gloom. James waves at Gloom's face, waking it up. James sends out his coughing to launch poison gas, but Gloom is unaffected by the attack, breathing it as if it were fresh air. Gloom responds by releasing its stench, the putrid smell instantly knocking out Team Rocket. Meowth is unaffected since he does not have a nose, but the trainers knock Meowth out with a hammer before planting red cross marks on all three of them, taking them outside and suspending them from a tree branch. I don't have a whole lot to say here, except it's very important to point out that Gloom opens its eyes, and it's quite disturbing here. That's just really all I wanted to say. Oh, and also, Team Rocket seem to be suspended from branches a lot. That's just like a go-to for the riders, I guess. Ash ends up running into Team Rocket tied up in the tree. James asks Ash to free them, but Jessie refuses at first. She then decides to taunt Ash for not getting into the gym. Jessie offers to help Ash get inside the gym if he releases them. Though reluctant at first, Ash does not want to pass up the opportunity to get the badge. They go to the department store and Team Rocket dresses Ash up in a dress and a blonde wig. Ash speaks about wanting to get back at the trainers, but Team Rocket subtly point out that Ash needs to change his voice. Ash coughs and speaks again in a high-pitched voice, setting up his disguise. Jessie and James dress up as Ash's parents and go to the gym to enroll Ash in the Pokemon training classes under the name Ashley. Ash notices that the girl registering him into the class was the same one he saw at the store, but the disguise holds and he is successfully admitted. Team Rocket runs off to find the secret perfume formula, while Ash unintentionally distracts the trainers. Meowth, hiding under James's disguise, pulls out a blaster ball, asking what to do with it, and Jessie orders Meowth to plant it.
We're so proud to have our little muffin in your gym.
Yes, we sure are.
Ma'am, where is Erika, the gym master?
Oh, you'll meet her soon.
Oh, right. Now all I gotta do is beat Erika and I'll get another badge.
Bye-bye. Hugs and kisses, Ashley. Mommy and Daddy are leaving you to battle those cute little Pokemon.
Bye, sweetie.
So I'm assuming this is a very under-the-radar appearance of Celadon department store. Like, it's got to be, they're in a department store and it's Celadon. It's got to be the Celadon department store, right? It's still a little bit weird that they only go there to buy a disguise, but I guess it's better than nothing. Also, shout out to James's disguise. It's really incredible here. He literally has like an entirely new face and body shape, which when compared to the very low effort costumes of Ash and Jessie, it just absolutely blows them out of the water. So the gym trainers work out with their grass-type Pokemon while Erika finishes telling a story to the group. Ash enters the room and finds Misty and Brock in this group. Ash finds out that Erika is not only the gym leader, but she is also the store manager that kicked him out. Brock steps forward to introduce the seemingly shy Ashley, as Ash notices Pikachu in the group as well. Misty asks Erika why Gloom does not emit its horrible smell, and Erika points out that as long as Gloom feels safe, it will not smell. Erika recounts the time she first met Gloom, and as her first Pokemon, it became her motivation to become a grass-type gym leader. When she was a child, she actually ran into a wild Grimer, but Gloom came to her defense and used its stench to send Grimer scurrying. As Erika finishes the story, Misty wishes that Ash could have heard the story. Ash responds in his normal voice, raising suspicion as Misty takes a closer look at Ash. Pikachu gets closer and hugs Ash's leg. He pushes him away, making him angrily shock him, breaking the disguise. Ash drops the facade and challenges Erika to a battle. Meanwhile, Team Rocket break into the safe, holding the perfume.
Haven't we met someplace before?
Maybe you met my sister.
Peekabee!
Hey, knock it off.
It's Ash!
Yeah, it's me.
You're that boy.
Erika, you wouldn't let me in, so I wore this stupid disguise. I had to sneak into your gym so I could battle you for a badge. And now I want to challenge you.
So we've got an error here. The very first story that Erika tells, once she finishes that, there's a miniature victory bell seen next to Gloom and Tangela, in the respect that it's only slightly taller than them when it should be like a lot bigger. It's just a weird little sizing error there. I also thought Erika's story was real weird. Like, It tries to be a little bit of a sob story, but it's very rushed through. And she tells it, she says, like, when I was a little girl, I got lost one day. And then they cut to the flashback, and she's in, like, an abandoned warehouse, which, like, why did young Erika get lost in an abandoned warehouse? Why was she in an abandoned warehouse? Just so many questions raised by this very brief flashback. Erika does eventually accept the challenge from Ash and sets up a 3-on-3 battle. Ash sends out Bulbasaur while Erika sends out Tangela, which prompts Ash to check his Pokedex. Bulbasaur attacks with Vine Whip, but Tangela uses Constrict to pull Bulbasaur closer before following up with Stun Spore, paralysing Bulbasaur. Ash recalls Bulbasaur and Erika offers to treat it with a Paralyze Heal, but he refuses and considers using Primeape, but knowing how unruly the Pokemon is, he changes his mind and sends out Charmander instead. Erika sends out Weeping Bell and opens with a Razor Leaf attack. Charmander uses Flamethrower to stop the attack and send it back as Fireballs. Charmander uses Skull Bash to knock out Weeping Bell. Erika points out Ash's lack of empathy towards his Pokemon as she sends out Gloom. It releases its stench, and upon smelling it, Charmander jumps into the air, holding its nose before fainting. Ash tries to decide his next Pokemon, but Pikachu steps forward and offers to battle. Ash is not optimistic, but Pikachu is confident that he will win.
Pikachu?
Pika!
You're saying you want a battle?
Pikachu.
You know you're probably gonna lose, but you're still willing to battle Gloom to help me out?
Pika, Pika.
What? You say you're sure you'll win?
Pikachu, Pika, Pika.
Oh, Pikachu!
Heartwarming. But what's that smell?
So finally, it took over 12 minutes of the episode, but we finally get to the gym battle. But with it being 12 minutes in, it means there's only about 10 minutes left in the episode, which actually doesn't matter because we're not going to get 10 minutes of battling, not even remotely close. I think it sucks so much that all of these gym battle episodes feature so little battling. Like, there are legitimately just random episodes that feature far more battling than the gym battle episodes, which I think is just insane. I know I spoke about this the other episode in regards to the Saffron City arc, but here it's like even worse, and it frustrates me to no end. I also think Erika comes off as an arrogant dick during this really quick battle. Firstly, when Ash sends out Charmander, Erika's response is, "This should be easy," which is just so bold of her. Like, he's literally sending out a Pokemon that should just light up your entire team, and she's like, whatever, this is easy. But also, my bigger issue was, how does Erika know that Ash doesn't have empathy for his Pokemon? What is she even basing that accusation on? There's literally nothing to suggest that Ash doesn't have empathy for his Pokemon. In fact, I would say Ash has a lot of empathy for his Pokemon, and he always shows it. The one time, I can't remember what episode it was in. It was early on, but they made Ash seem like he didn't care about his Pokemon's welfare, which couldn't be further from the truth. Ash is all about his Pokemon's welfare. That's literally his first thought when it comes to every situation. So the fact that Erika is like, you don't have any empathy for your Pokemon, just really grinds my gears. Team Rocket eventually interrupts the battle and jumps down onto the battlefield. Meowth detonates a bomb, which is still on Meowth, which sends them blasting off, but they manage to escape with the perfume. The bomb starts a massive fire and the trainers quickly recall their Pokemon. Everyone gets outside as the fire grows out of control and threatens to destroy the gym. Everyone tries to put the fire out, but their attempts are not very effective. Ash feels guilty that he allowed Team Rocket inside, and the prior remark about the gym's perfume that caused the whole mess in the first place, but Misty snaps him out of it. He sends Squirtle while Misty sends out Staryu and Starmie to fire water gun at the fire. Brock sends Geodude to drop dirt on the flames. As they begin to get a hold on the fire, Erika runs around frantic because she cannot find Gloom. She thinks Gloom is still inside and attempts to run in, but Misty stops her. Ash runs in instead, and he finds Gloom scared, but as he approaches, Gloom releases its smell. The ceiling begins to cave in around Gloom, and Ash takes a chance and holds his breath as he rushes into the room. He gets up to Gloom, but can no longer hold his breath. As he takes a breath, he finds that there's no smell, and he remembers the story that Gloom will not stink if it feels safe.
Oh! Don't worry, Gloom. I promise I'll get you out of here. Oh! Oh! I can't get closer to that spell.
So this is how the gym battle ends here. Another Team Rocket interruption. It seems like this happens every single time now. And the gym catches on fire, which actually leads to a really adorable moment. We get to see Pikachu using a watering can to put out the fire. It is so freaking adorable. It tops the adorableness of Meowth playing with the ball of yarn in the last episode. It's just so cute. I honestly can't think of a cuter moment in the show right now. It's just, it's so good. Also, with the amount of fire seen here, Celadon Gym would be completely destroyed. Like, even if it was put out, it would literally have to be knocked down and rebuilt from scratch. None of that would be safe. Like, it's a pretty brutal fire. So to end things, Ash runs out of the burning gym with Gloom in hand, and everyone congratulates Ash for his bravery. The next day, Erika presents the rainbow badge to Ash because he saved Gloom. Ash points out that they lost part of the perfume secret formula, but Erika points out that the bottle held Gloom's scent. Meanwhile, Team Rocket opens the bottle, with the contents knocking them out. So Ash literally running through fire as he rescues Gloom makes literally zero sense. He would be on fire. He would probably be dead if this happened. There's no attempt to, put the fires out temporarily to get him through. It's just literally running through fire. Ash is literally superhuman. And obviously, we don't get back to the battle. Ash is just gifted another gym badge here. We only have roughly 3 minutes in this episode spent on battling, which just sucks. Absolutely sucks. I'm going to lead this straight into my thoughts on the episode. I think it's pretty damn forgettable. This is literally the one Kanto gym battle episode that I had absolutely no recollection for. I've seen all of the Kanto gym battles multiple times, but I still just had no recollection of what happened in Celadon City. It's not egregiously bad, but nothing about it is memorable. There's no iconic moments, which each of the first 4 gyms have definitely had, and it's just by far the worst of all the gym battle episodes so far when it comes to showcasing battling. Like I said, I thought the Saffron City arc was bad, but here we literally get 3 minutes of battling, while the rest of the episode is just spent with Ash being berated about perfume and his opinions on it, and then him sneaking into the gym in drag. I just really want more from these gym episodes. It's one of the major issues of the first series of the anime, and having revisited it now, it's just reminding me of how bad it gets. To recap the major events, Ash and his friends meet Erika, the Celadon City gym leader. Ash challenges Erika to a gym battle, but it gets disrupted by a Team Rocket-caused fire. Ash's Charmander is revealed to know Skull Bash, and Ash earns the rainbow badge from Erika as a thanks for saving her Gloom from the fire. And surprisingly, Ash Ketchum's win-loss record remains at 4 wins and 5 losses. He's still on a 1-win streak. Despite being in a gym battle episode and Ash winning a gym badge, there is no change to his record here as he doesn't actually complete a battle. But now it's time for our second round of Pokemail. So I'm going to be a bit of a smartass here for my question for Pokémon Scent-sation. Because Ash is being gifted a gym badge here and battling just really isn't important, I want to hear your ridiculous way that Ash can earn a badge. What ridiculous task would you like to see Ash do to perform to receive a gym badge? Because he saved one from fire, he protected the gym from Team Rocket in Celadon City. Those are pretty, I guess, normal-ish kind of stuff, but I want to hear what kind of wacky things you'd like to see Ash to do to earn a badge. But bringing this episode to a close means the entire episode is coming to a close. Thanks for listening to Who's That Pokemon. I hope you enjoyed the show, and if you're not subscribed to the podcast, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, and Google Play. Basically anywhere you can get your hands on podcasts. You can also find the show on Twitter at Who's That PKM Pod to keep up with the latest updates for the show, and I'm on Twitter as @SourceMarlow. You can also check out my YouTube channel, WTP Productions. There you're going to find all sorts of Pokemon content covering the games, anime, and everything in between. As I mentioned earlier, I've got a video that went up recently about the mystery Pallet Town trainers, and I've also got a review of Pokemon Yellow coming very shortly, so keep your eye out for that. That's all for this episode. I hope you join me next time as I take a look back at Hypno's Nap Time and Pokemon Fashion Flash. Ash's journey doesn't really progress a whole lot in these episodes, but in both cases, the party of his companions actually increase.